You are listening to South Niagara Conversations, a podcast presented by the South Niagara Chambers of Commerce, along with 105.1 The River and 101.1 More FM. Here are your hosts, Dolores Fabiano and Scott Lunn.
Well, good morning, and thanks to everyone who's joined us for our South Niagara Conversation series. For those of you who are tuning in from afar, we represent the communities of Fort Erie, Niagara Falls, Port Colborne, Wainfleet, Welland, and Pelham. We're located in Southern Ontario, no better place to live, work, or play. Joining me today is my guest co-host, Kevin Jacobi, co-owner and executive director of Canada BW. Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Dolores. How are you doing?
I'm great. It's we're heading into a long weekend, so I couldn't be better. I'm really excited about today's conversation. We're going to be get some insight as to how we did this past summer in terms of visitors to our local restaurants, hotels, attractions, and my personal favorite, wineries. Kevin, we really should have some rosé on hand, but I drank all mine last night, so.
Mine's just off camera because at the time of recording, it is morning, so you do start with a white and work your way into the reds later on this afternoon. Just for
you're brilliant.
Information's sake here. I'm sure Andrew will be able to help us better for more morning drinking etiquette as we go along. We'll look forward to that, Andrew.
I love you, Kevin.
Love you too. I just love the chamber doing this because we have so many great, unique voices in our community, and that these podcasts let us share not only with the people in Niagara where we live and where we work, but the rest of the world can tune in and figure out why they have to come over here, and that's the important part. So, looking forward.
That's right. Well, let's keep it going. Tell us who we have joining us this morning.
Well, who do we have here? So let's start with Joel. We have Joel Noden here. He will be helping us understand more about our tourism. Joel is Director of Marketing and Business Development for HOCO Entertainment. And of course, we already talked about Andrew, Director of Marketing from Konzelmann Estate Winery. So welcome, guys. Hope you're having a great morning so far.
Great. Thanks, Kevin.
All right.
HOCO,
HOCO.
Yeah.
It's big letters, so I spell it out. So I'm really good at crosswords as well. Why don't we start with Joel? What did you experience on your properties this summer so far?
Actually, it was a good rebound. July was still a little soft, as people I think figured out what they could and could not do. But once we got into August, we saw a strong August, pretty much back to, I wouldn't say 2019 levels, but close to it, still down a little bit, but at least getting back in that range. The biggest problem again is, you're probably going to hear this 100 times, labor issues, and then actually the capacity limits are still in place, which, you take 20% capacity out of operation or 30% capacity. It's tough to make up those numbers to full capacity.
And do you experience the same thing at the winery then, Andrew?
Yeah, Kevin, and thank you for having me. By the way, I'm just really excited to be a part of it. So I really appreciate you including us. I think echoed to what Joel was saying. I think our entire industry, though, in terms of the winery, has seen a bit of a shift. So we've really fared well throughout the past year. We've remained essential, so we've remained open. Our retail store has never closed, and I think we've really focused more on what the guest experience would be. I think that's been really welcome to a lot of the visitors here at the winery and wineries in Niagara Lake. So really, I mean, I would say we've seen less visitation, but in terms of our numbers and our sales, they've really remained the same. We're seeing more of a bigger spend, I should say, from the guests that are visiting now, just with less volume. So it's actually really, for us, it's been a really great model and a really refreshing change.
Yeah, and in terms of the marketing, Andrew, I remember chatting with you in the spring, and you guys were doing some different things that you hadn't traditionally done in the past. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because it was fascinating.
Yeah, so we've really shifted and we've had the versatility to do it as well, to outdoor experiences where I think the guests feel obviously a bit more safer. And it's just something all wineries have these vast properties. So we have the flexibility to kind of, I guess, use some of that space that we wouldn't normally use. So we've invested with the help of some really great federal and provincial grants in a dome. We call it our Vineyard Dome. It's more of a luxury style dome that overlooks the vineyard. Our winery is fortunate to be right on the lake here in Niagara Lake. We're the only lakefront winery. And then we've also renovated our patio with that same grant. But again, the focus for us here has been the seasonal business. So we wanted to have it winterized. We wanted to offer that same outdoor experience all year round. So it's proved really beneficial for us, and it's something new and unique, I think, to Niagara that the guests have really enjoyed.
Yeah, and Joel, we forgot to mention you're also the chair of the Niagara Falls Tourism Association. So you have a bigger picture of what's been happening. I want to ask you about the border. So did you see any impact once the border reopened to Americans coming into Canada?
It was really marginal impact. I think with the current restrictions that are still in place to get across the border, we saw, and that's to be expected. We saw that when passports came in. It wasn't all of a sudden, well, actually it was. Things basically shut down. But again, it was another hurdle. But it takes a while for that to come back, and I think you'll see the same thing happen with the travel from the U.S. now. One thing it is doing is it's suppressing rates at hotels. Obviously, the American consumer, and I've talked about this before, where we go to Florida, we open up our wallets, and it's spend to our heart's content because we're on vacation, and suspend reality for a week and then deal with it when we get back. And same thing with our American visitors. They come up here. It's an extra $50, $60 for a hotel room. Doesn't bother them. They're here to have a good time, and it's to make memories. And that we're still feeling from a lack of U.S. visitation.
Yeah. And what about?
Sorry, Dolores. When it comes to the idea of hotels and that, is it right across the board where they're feeling? Everyone's, of course, feeling the impact of the challenges. But what I'm seeing here locally and hearing from chamber members is the higher end motels and hotels that have higher rates have come down quite a bit, which put a lot more pressure on your economy stays. Are you seeing more pressure on those businesses compared to, say, some of our higher end hotels?
It's a real trickle down. I mean, the larger hotels, of course, have larger expenses, larger costs. Sure. I was talking with a hotelier just yesterday, actually, and we were saying like they have almost 1,000 rooms, and they were only selling 500 to 600 rooms a night on a Saturday night, where normally they'd sell out because they didn't have anybody to clean the room. They had to have the turnover capabilities. So just through, again, these restrictions and extra measures that are in place, it's almost self-limiting their capacities. So I think that the pressure is on rate, where once you start trickling it down, somebody that was getting $150 a night back in 2019 is probably getting $99 to $100 a night. But again, their costs are much lower than in a property like the Hilton or Embassy Suites, which it's really mini cities when you get into those complexes in terms of their operations.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know that you've alluded a little bit to labor, and I know that we've been hearing across the board, all of our sectors, all of our markets, that labor is or will be number one challenge for everyone. And so I know that in hospitality, a lot of, as you said, a lot of the attractions, the restaurants, the hotels, they haven't been at capacity because they just don't have the labor to deal with it. So what is the plan around that? Like how will we attract people back to the industry? Because many people have left and moved to different sectors, different types of jobs. But we need the people to keep the industry going. And so are there any plans around recruitment or good question, huh?
Actually, it's interesting. I was just talking with some HR people the other day about this. And if you remember, it seems like a long time ago, but in 2019, we were feeling a labor crunch back then. It was more because we were so damn busy that we needed more people, and we were really getting a push on to try and get extra staff, stay open longer, serve people better. Then, of course, the pandemic hit, and now we have another issue, which is a change in lifestyle for a lot of people that are in the hospitality industry. that it's not an easy lifestyle. It's rewarding, but not always easy, with late shifts and in hotels and casinos, 24-hour a day operations. So people all of a sudden got suspended out of that, and they started dealing with their life in a different way. And the uncertainty of open, close, reduced capacities, increased capacities. I've got to be vaccinated. I don't have to be vaccinated. They've just said, you know what, I'm just going to move out of this industry. I found another job during the pandemic, and I'm going to stay there. And we're seeing people that have even come back at places like the casino and hotels and restaurants, where they came back and they're like, nah, I remember what this lifestyle was like, and I'm going to go back to what my new lifestyle has become.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge. And how do we get that back? That's a big question.
Yeah. Andrew, are you seeing the same issues in the winery?
Yeah, it's actually been a bit frustrating, because we finally got to our peak and ideal levels right around September, and then everyone went back to school. So we hired a lot of college and university students. They like the tips here on the patio, so that's something we were in a great place, and then that happened. So, but I think something that COVID had taught us is we really have to transition and be ready to move very quickly and adapt. So we're trying new things. We're offering, or we're looking at offering some bonuses for hiring. So if you stay a certain time, say 3 months, you get a monetary bonus. We're really, I think, promoting some of our internal programs we have here. We do a lot of reward programs for wine. So just promoting what we have is something we've really never done before, but it really is a great place to work. You don't see a lot of angry people. People come in, for the most part, they're all very happy. They leave sometimes even happier. So yeah, it's really been a struggle for us, and to what Joel was alluding to as well, it's the frustrating part is limiting us to offering more. So we'd love to open up more programs, more experiences, but without having that key staff is really hard to do so. So I find that a little frustrating and limiting, but yeah, we're pushing through it.
Mm-hmm. And I know that we keep hearing, that tourism and hospitality, the rate of pay isn't great. And I know that in talking to members of our chamber, that they're increasing, like they're looking at bonuses, they're looking at paying more, they're looking at, providing more flexibility. They're looking at all of these things to try and entice people to come back or to keep really good people. And Joel, you must be hearing the same. Yeah,
I mean, that's I always get frustrated when I hear that it's a poor paying industry. I mean, we at HOCO, we don't have one position that pays minimum wage. I mean, we pay above minimum at every one of our jobs, and we've got complete teams here. I mean, we're not just mom and pop operations. We've got IT, we've got HR, we've got accounting, we've got maintenance, we've got HVAC people. We've these are good paying jobs. Are you talking the student who is going back to school and trying to make some money for their school year? Yeah, those are entry level jobs, and hopefully they're gaining experience along the way with us in just dealing with people and life in general, and hopefully some expertise in a career that they're looking forward to. But yeah, it's frustrating because it's not the truth, and somehow we have to get that out there. Yeah, it's always it's frustrating to me too, because I know that that's not true. I know that pre-COVID, the industry really used a lot of access to a lot of our international students, and that must have been another issue that made the problem even bigger, because those international students just weren't here. Did you feel the impact of that as well? Big time. I mean, that we would get the students come into Niagara College and Brock, and they can still work their 24 hours a week, and they were more than willing to work. They like any student that's living away from home, that extra income is really helpful, and that tap has been shut off. So I mean, it's another challenge that we're dealing with. Yeah, we tried to retain a couple of our summer students throughout the year, and we were able to keep a few, but we wanted more of them, and they have too much on their plate with their schoolwork, and so many of them are either going back onto campus and or have a hybrid of
online learning and on campus, and they don't have the time for a part-time job, which has really put a lot of pressure on us as well, because we typically rely on that assistance. So yeah, labor is it's a big problem, a big challenge.
And even the international temporary labor that can be brought in, I mean, like, especially in the agricultural sector, within the hotels, I mean, a lot of those people would come in and work as chambermaids and doing maintenance, and they work for 2-3 months and then go home. And because of COVID, of course, we lost that opportunity as well. Probably, Andrew, your sector felt it a lot more than even the hospitality side.
Yeah, I know we were very, I think, nervous at the beginning to have our migrant workers come back to us last year. So that's something that we definitely rely on, not just here at the winery, but I think obviously all throughout Niagara Lake. But it actually worked out pretty well for us. I know there was a lot of conversations between the federal government I guess when COVID started, just in terms of bringing these migrant workers over, and just I guess again shows how important they are to our community and our ecosystem here. But it's actually, they're just delays. It's actually gone really well. A few of them were delayed in coming over, but once they got here, it seemed to go pretty smoothly.
That's great. That's great. So I know one of the other things that pre-COVID was a big thing was the bus tours, and I don't know that they've come back. Can you guys tell me what you've been seeing with bus tours and what you think the future of bus tours is going to be? Either one of you.
Well, I mean, there was a time when you'd hit Labor Day and then there'd be a 2-week pause, and then the buses would start rolling into town, and you'd just see them en masse just down the parkway at Table Rock and our parking lots, hotel parking lots. That stopped with COVID, and it was on a slight decline to start out with. It's a slightly older demographic that would take the bus tours, the traditional North American bus tour, and of course we lost all the international bus tours. So yeah, I mean that's the challenge. And as far as the industry as a whole, I know that really it's been trying to reinvent itself. The international market does assist, but there's a greater propensity for independent travel now through the international markets. People are more used to traveling. Traveling isn't a foreign thing anymore. It's people get on planes and travel around the world with ease now. So I think that whole bus tour business is going to struggle for a while.
Mm.
Things that I love traveling, and I would travel quite a bit pre-COVID, and I haven't been able to now for almost 2 years. So what I've been doing is these little mini explorations of things that I should know more about in our own community. How have you guys approached the idea of engaging your local audience to help compensate for this?
Yeah, Kevin, that's similar to what Joel was saying too. With I guess to back up with the large bus groups, that's been, and Dolores, we talked about this been in the summer. That's been the biggest shift of our industry is that those huge volume of people. It's difficult for a small, medium, or large size winery to really I guess express or really get that message out when they're on here. It dilutes that intimacy of the guest experience. So I think it's been really well received when now we can do these personalized experiences that they're also very safe, but they're also very informative and kind of catered towards our guests. And with the local groups, I know we touched on the U.S. market before. With them not coming here anymore or crossing the border, it's for the wineries anyways. It's something that we've never really focused that much on. The U.S. customers, while they're great, there's a lot of confusion about bringing wine back over the border. It's also, once they get back over the border, we can't really ship wine into the States. There's really no activation for any wine club memberships back into the States. So. And I guess then to your point, Kevin, that local market has been really key for us. And I think that's what we're finding is a lot of those guests now, I think they're focusing on some things maybe they never even knew existed in their own backyard. And they're just really pleasantly surprised. So I think we're hearing a lot of that. And just, we kind of have the notion of saying, how could you not know we're here? Like, we've been here for over 30 years now, but it's just, they get here and they're like, wow, this is, and I think it also reinvigorates them to really, I think they don't take for granted of what they have in their own backyard now. So I think that's been really great for us. And then in terms of the long-term guest relationship, that continues for us. So what if you are local, if you are visiting the winery, we can now market to you once you leave. So now we can start selling wine club memberships. We can start marketing some of our online sales. So that's been really great for us, and that's really gotten us through. And we've really appreciated it, and we're so thankful for those local guests continuing to support us, but also those new guests who we continue to see at the winery.
One of the opportunities I think that are out there, and I've had some lengthy conversations with Kevin Vellier from Farm Fresh Ontario on this, is the whole agritourism. People I think are more interested and want to delve deeper into where their food comes from. They're local. It's more. There's more shop local. There's the field to table, farm to table cuisine that is extremely popular. And one of the conversations I've had with Kevin is that really there's, to get to a lot of these places, it's a little difficult. I mean, you're dealing in farm country, and roads that perhaps aren't as well marked or as familiar to people. And there's an opportunity there for some of the bus tours to take advantage of that, and that includes wineries and other types of production. And really, when you look at production of food in Ontario, it's a year-round proposition. I mean, people are doing this all year round. From the spring of planting and fresh berries and that kind of thing to the fall harvest, to feeding off the bounty of that at the end of it all through the winter months. So Kevin and I have been talking about that. It doesn't have anything to do with HOCO. I guess that's my Niagara Falls tourism hat, but I think there's an opportunity there. We're looking at tying in music with that and entertainment, which is a big focus for Niagara Falls tourism right now. We're having a music week coming up between Christmas and New Year's, and Janice will be announcing things, I think October 16th or 18th, one of the two. So I think from the agritourism standpoint, I mean, there's big opportunities that does cater to that local market, and quite frankly will assist a lot of these smaller communities that are trying to get into tourism or trying to boost their tourism products. There's a whole genre of product there that I think there's an interest in.
Okay, we want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, the Small Business Enterprise Center, City of Niagara Falls. Thank you for your support.
Do you have an idea for a small business? Maybe you're trying to grow a business that you've already started. Whatever the case, the Niagara Falls Small Business Enterprise Center is a community service that is here to help, offering entrepreneurs the tools to start and grow their businesses. The Small Business Enterprise Center is your one-stop for free business information and advice. Serving Niagara Falls and South Niagara, learn more about how we can help you and your business succeed at niagarafalls.ca/SBEC.
I will say, I think even my family alone, we've probably played about 50 rounds of the Dino Mini Putt alone. So that accumulates some visitation there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Greatly appreciated.
I was going to say, one of the things that we did early on was we ordered cases of wine. Cases, it sounds terrible. A case at a time, but different wineries that we had never been to. We wanted to support the industry somehow, and they were all delivering free, and they had different packages. So you would get a sampler box. And I can't tell you how exciting it was to have a case of wine show up at my front door. It was kind of the highlight of the year. And it really allowed us to find some new and different wineries that we'd never been to. So I get what you're saying, Andrew. Like it really did force the wineries everybody to think in a different way and pursue different avenues of selling your product. And I think that's a good thing that came out of it.
Yeah.
Kevin, you were going to add something as well?
Yeah, it's just, I really respect the tenacity of what's happened in the food and beverage industry, because we did have to change because they were closed down and they had to figure new ways around it. So like a lot of people don't realize is like a lot of the wineries that may not have a lot of SKUs in our LCBO, which is our local liquor control board here in Ontario, that they rely on their licensees, so hotels, restaurants, not to sell the bottles for them. especially for liquor companies. We have a lot of great distilleries in the area. And what we saw was a transition from the bottles of alcohol to coolers, cans, ready-made that they could take out for takeout. And restaurants that you normally wouldn't do takeout with, all of a sudden developing a takeout menu to keep their staff employed, to keep their doors open in some capacity. It really showed the resiliency of what we have in our community.
Yeah, and I was just going to add, Dolores, to that. I think another major shift for us was technology in general. So in Niagara Lake, anyway, we have a large assortment of wineries, and many are very family run, and many didn't embrace that technology side of it prior to COVID. So I think from the onset, you saw a lot of vast separation between those who really got it before they went into COVID and those who didn't. So a lot of the family wineries almost had to catch up to where a lot of us already were. Like, we were fortunate to have a pretty large email database. We're very active on social media. We've shifted a lot of our marketing budgets to Facebook. So that right out of the gate, we had I feel a pretty big advantage, and we took it. When we reaped the benefits of it, I think, to start. But yeah, like that for the industry in general, that's outside of just whatever's happening on site at the winery. That's been a major shift for us, and as you said, Kevin, very well received.
Going forward, so hopefully we are going to see end of a pandemic. It may become endemic, or maybe something we have to live with and adapt our lives. But eventually, we're going to have our borders open again. People are going to travel more freely in that. How is your business models going to be changing now? Because you've learned how to cope and deal with things upon new avenues. Are these going to be a bonus then when you add in the more traditional way, or is this now the traditional way for your companies?
Yeah, for us, I think, yeah, I think we're so fortunate to have this online, and I think it really opens people's eyes to how easy and simple it is. Like, Dolores has probably ordered 100 cases from us, but joking, Dolores, but it's so from when you initially order to maybe a day or two later, and it's sitting on your doorstep without any interruptions. Like, it's a seamless process. And for those delivery companies that we use, they've really adapted well as well, just going with like the influx of orders. So that's really been a great program for us. But I think how we operate here as a winery, with experience first, slowing down the traffic and really focusing on our guests, was something we probably should have looked at and focused on previous to COVID, or even for the past few years previous to COVID. But I think that's definitely here to stay. I think the large bus groups, the large amounts of traffic visiting, I think they might be a bit a thing of the past. But I think, I don't know, we're fortunate in where we are, and I think we're really in a good spot looking forward to where we're going.
And I want both to answer that question too, but I just wanted to add, Andrew, I really love what the wineries have done in terms of, the tastings, bringing them outdoors, and I hope that sticks around too, because it just it's another way to enjoy the product. It's different, and I really like being outdoors. So I hope that sticks around too.
Yeah, and just on that point really quickly, ironically, like with this new, with the passport ruling, we're I think, one of the only industries where you could be almost in the same room, and half of the room, if you're doing a tasting, you would require a passport vaccination, and the other half, a retail store, you don't require a passport vaccination. So walking in the door, you almost have to pre-evaluate or pre-screen where are you going first. But our outdoor experiences don't require passports, so that's another plus for those who maybe staying back or a bit timid. We can still offer those as well. But yeah, that's been an interesting journey for us as well.
When you talk about technology and using technology, Andrew, I found some of the smaller operations, they were running Facebook ads in 2019, like spending some money through Facebook and some small ads here and there. And of course, with the pandemic, a lot of people stopped that. They're cut back on their marketing. But I said to myself, well, are you still, putting in tracking pixels? Are you still, gathering the information? And oh, no, we just stopped everything. I said, well, why? I mean, you still keep gathering data for as long as you can, because this will end. Whether, to your point, is it an endemic, or does it go away, or, I hate to use the word pivot because I'm tired of that word, but we keep pivoting. This is going to end, and don't stop collecting your data. Don't stop mining new customers and getting back to existing customers, and because eventually they're going to come back, and your marketing budgets will free up, and you will start spending money again. And I think that was one of the mistakes that a lot of people made, is they just stopped collecting.
Joel, can I ask, have you changed any of your marketing channels? So have you maybe focused more on a social media channel and maybe pulled back from some of the print or like the billboard, things like that?
Yeah, we made that change several years ago, and really this amplified it. We have a social media team that is more telling stories. They're not just broadcasting. We have people that are on property, they're interacting. We do a lot of live broadcasts. We tell stories about the whole region, and I'm talking at HOCO, not at Niagara Falls Tourism. And we found that that's really created a personal relationship between our property and our customers and potential customers, because we put a face to the name HOCO, which really doesn't mean anything to anybody, but Clifton Hill does. HOCO is a corporate name. But we found that that's really worked well for us. We started that several years ago, and I'm glad we went in that direction, because today that was a pretty inexpensive way to market to people. You know, we're out there doing live broadcasts. I've got 2 people, that's their full-time job, and they've developed these relationships with our customers. So I would suggest, rather than just broadcast, I would say, if you're in the cosmetic business, you put a lipstick out there, you show it on a good-looking model, and then you hope that you sell some. With us, we wanted to create that experience, and I think for the wineries, there's a lesson to be learned there, that you can really create these personalities to work with and tell a story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think just the extreme targeting that you can do to approach to target these guests is something that the social side has really helped. The influencer, I mean, that's a relatively, I think, overused term, but that's something, again, that we've really focused on, this influencer market, where they come down and they participate in our experiences a lot. We just give them the experiences, not even really a monetary value attached to it in terms of paying them to come down. They just partake in the experience. They broadcast it to all their users, and that's, again, like that. A lot of the times has really shocked me. We've had an influencer here in our Vineyard Dome, a TikTok influencer, and we probably just in incurred revenue we probably made, well, and I don't know, over probably 50, 60 bookings just from this one influencer visit. Like that shocks me, and maybe I'm old now, but that's something that I was pleasantly surprised by. So that's something I think will continue as well.
So we did a big marketing launch with Alicia Cara a couple months ago, and it was based off that. It was let's be cross beneficial here. She was launching a new album. We needed somebody to get our product out there to every market, and she was very broad in terms of her appeal. So it was win-win, and we had, just on that one video, through our channels, it was okay. I mean, we did couple tens of thousands, but through her channels and distribution, it was like 189 million. So that's another example of an influencer really coming through for us.
Joel, I think the silver lining here is we need to start our own TikTok channel. I think that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Tide Pods. But yeah, no, it is. It's amazing. I think that's an entirely another topic about the idea of how marketing and media and celebrity have changed and how it impacts our businesses. But this was fantastic. Thank you both so much for representing your industries, giving us an insight in what's going on. We're all different, but we can all learn from each other at the same time. It was an amazing conversation to be part. Dolores, what's going on next week on this chat?
Oh, okay. Well, next week, we're going to be joined by 3 local business leaders. You'll know their names. They're going to be sharing their own experiences with regards to their own business plans. We'll chat about some of their epic successes and failures as they strive to keep their plans relevant. It's going to be a great conversation. Joining us will be Brian LaChapelle from B4 Networks, Neville Kidd from Desjardins, and he has a bunch of his own businesses as well. And of course, Vern Milo from Growth Associates. So to all of our listeners, send us the topics that you're talking about, because we want to talk about them too. Thanks again for tuning in, and have yourselves a great week.
Stay strong, Niagara.